Well, let's see which champion the AD carries will be locking in. Xin Zhao and Rakan removed from Schalke in Phase 1. Lucian and Aatrox is the response thus far. So thinking about some of the other very top-tier picks here in the LEC, the likes of Irelia, the likes of Cassiopeia, Urgot are screaming out to me. And of course, Sheepy, standing behind SK Gaming, he'll be leading this draft on the red side. What will this final ban be? And then what priority picks are left?
Well, Irelia, Akali, both still up and available. You would imagine that one of those would be prioritized, but instead, SK leaving both up. Now, if I'm Schalke, I would grab the Akali right now. Perhaps they're challenging Schalke and saying, we don't think you can play it. Abadage and W2D1, I'd like to think should be able to play Akali. If you can't in this meta, then you're going to be in a huge disadvantage. And the reason why I say that over Irelia is I consider Akali to be a stronger matchup into the Irelia. And depending on your skill level, she can offer a lot more than an Irelia can. But instead, they choose to prioritize what they have over the last few weeks, which we talked about earlier, which is that Lissandra.
Abadage has played 2 Lissandra games. He's gone 2 kills, 6 deaths, 8 assists. So it's not the most impressive performances, but we know that then lowers the priority on Akali. We know it's a comfortable pick into that champion, and whether or not Pyrion's going to play it. Phase 1, Sion and Alistar picked up. So those really big, really popular picks for many other teams here in the LEC have gone unpicked. What's your take on that?
I am surprised.
Yep.
Especially when I think back to last game. But what this to me suggests is that the focus for Schalke will come elsewhere. Perhaps they'll put a little bit more carry resources in towards the top side of the map. They're actually picking a very safe bot lane. With the Kai'Sa and the Morgana, much more geared towards farming. They're expecting Crown Chop to go for the Ezreal, is what this implies to me. But what really surprises me is the high priority on the Sion. Now, you can flex it both mid and top, and it does perfectly fine into the Lissandra as well, but to have such high value on it in the draft does surprise me. I guess they don't feel that confident in locking themselves in the Irelia or the Akali into a Lissandra matchup.
I also then think to myself, maybe it's just something that these teams have practiced. Maybe scrims have gone particularly well in a certain direction, and you know, you're going to play a comp that has worked for you off stage. There is that Ezreal that you're expecting, so we jump into Phase 2. Is flex pick still a possibility? Kennen once again banned.
I like that.
Has been something we've seen several times, and that just limits some of the options that W2D1 can run.
This to me implies that Willib is thinking about the Sion top lane. We saw it from W2D1 last week, and he was able to find a solo kill up against a Urgot. Now, what we see from SK is they've drafted themselves a lot of engage. Right now, they're just lacking a little bit in terms of damage. Ezreal does have damage. Unfortunately, Schalke is a relatively squishy comp, so he doesn't have too much to worry about. But in terms of actually starting the fights, they're covered. What we're now looking for from Schalke is more ways to start those fights. We're still looking for an engaged tank, and Sejuani seems to be the champion that I'm thinking of right now for Memento, unless they want to get really aggressive, in which case Olaf could be an... Never mind, it's just got banned.
Exactly, the Sejuani value goes up even higher now that Olaf is taken off the table. And something that you were talking about coming into this matchup and into this week, Sejuani also played by Selfmade last week. And of course, being on the red side, they'll have that first pick in Phase 2. Kha'Zix, another jungler, taken away from the game. So Karthus really is still up and available.
This really suggests to Sejuani right now. I feel like SK should just take it away. It will give Schalke the opportunity to give Memento a stronger jungle matchup, arguably. And then Lissandra plus whoever is always going to be a really strong 2 versus 2. Xin was banned away.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're kind of like really narrowed down in the jungle pool, and Sejuani becomes the next big pick. Now, Schalke could go for the Zac. That is something that they often do over in the LCK as kind of an answer to Sejuani, because he can offer a lot more in teamfights sometimes, and he scales extremely well, and he doesn't really have to worry about a Sejuani invading him. So that is one option, but I feel like that's not really Memento's style.
Well, Camille is something that we talked a lot about last week. Haven't seen a whole lot of it here in the LEC.
Only Max though, really.
And what do you make of this Camille Morgana? It is a terrifying combination. Galio is still open and available as well if they wanted to do something really bold and go for that option, but we're going to find out where this Lissandra is going. Is it mid or is it top? Abadage, W2D1, they're going to lock in the champion now.
I honestly don't know what this last pick will be.
What would you like it to be, considering you've got
synergizes.
something going in, something on the front line maybe?
I'm fine with this. I think the Swain is really good into the Sion. I think that it synergizes quite nicely with a lot of the area of effect crowd control that Schalke have drafted for themselves. They also have a winning lane top right now, bot lane, I would say, is relatively even. Arguably, Kai'Sa Morgana should have a push against Alistar Ezreal, but it very much depends on how the Alistar plays and how many Qs the Ezreal can land. But now, if you're SK, you're kind of limited in good champions that can deal with the Lissandra. Orianna's one that I really like, but it looks like that Perrin's actually going for the Zoe. So she's going to try and leverage the range advantage that she has over the Lissandra. One of her big weaknesses is for Lissandra to do damage, she really needs to get in your face. Yeah. And Zoe's really good at stopping that. So I quite like the pick. I think it does nice in terms of adding damage to the composition. You definitely have a little bit more poke, and it means that setting up for Baron is a lot harder for Schalke, especially with sieges as well. But arguably their team fighting is a little bit weaker. The bright side for them is they have a really solid front line. There are a lot of squishy members on the side of Schalke. So if they can just rely on having this Alistar and Sion sit as a front line and freely allow the Zoe and the Ezreal to land all their significant poke, it means that Schalke might not even get an opportunity to have those big team fights that they're looking for.
Going to be a lot of pressure on Perrin and Crown Shot. Make sure they hit those skill shots, use that poke to their advantage. And of course, we got the team composition. So the players will be dropping out of our safe server. As you guys may have seen if you've been watching the show all day long, due to one of the bugs that's been happening, it's resulted in some remade champion selects. So something happened last week. The cause of the bug, it has been determined, and our team is in the process of patching that bug out. We've completed picks and bangs on the stable test server of the players on stage, and they are transferring to our tournament competitive server, get themselves loaded in, run through the draft quickly, and we'll load up onto the game. It's a very different flavor of team composition for both teams. And it's going to be interesting to see who's going to have the advantage. If you were to make a prediction based on what you've seen, who do you think is going to have the advantage, especially in the early game?
Well, on Twitter, I voted for Schalke, right? Now, before I get into this game, I want to give the context on to why.
Okay.
And for me, while SK look fantastic in the early game, they often remind me of last year's Misfits, which was that when they get an early lead and they dictate the pace of the game, they look fantastic. But when anything starts to go wrong, or they mess up a fight, or someone is out of position, they start to fumble, and then they kind of react just like sporadically, and things start to fall apart for the team. And I feel like that with Schalke's experience, that is less likely to happen. They're a little more patient, they're more aware of their win conditions, and they're better at coming back from a deficit. Now, to tie that back into this game, what we see is that Schalke have drafted themselves a strong jungle support duo once again. Morgana Camille, very threatening.
Terrifying combination with that Black Shield.
Yes, a lot of setup in the mid lane, potentially in the top lane as well. You've got a lot of duo power and single target CC. Very, very scary. And you also have a lot of roam potential with Abadage on this Lissandra as well. So I think that they're playing towards the style that they're used to. And the big question for me comes into, can Selfmade still be as successful with his ganks as he was able to last week? Because I feel like that now Schalke have had a week to prepare and see what he's up to. I believe they will be able to control his Sejuani.
Okay.
I don't know if he will have the same impact that he was able to have before. And my attention actually draws towards Pyrion on this Zoe.
Okay.
Because I feel like he actually played really solidly last week, and Zoe is the kind of champion that can make or break a game. So my eyes are on him, and I think that he's going to be really significant in this game.
Well, I'm going to dial back just one player to Selfmade. For anybody that watched Schalke's games last week, Selfmade had a pretty strong rhythm. He went top early game to gank for Whirlip, then he went bot to gank for Crown Shot, and then generally went back top for Whirlip. It was a fairly simple rinse and repeat, and it was very successful for him. So let's see if Memento, as well as Odo Omne, have been paying attention and they can react. So as an update, ladies and gentlemen, the draft has been completed. 30 seconds left before the players load up onto the Rift, and we will be jumping into Game 4 here of the LEC Spring Split. It is the old German organization of SK Gaming taking on the Bundesliga German organization of Schalke 04. And I have decided, Vedius, with no approval from anyone else or having spoken to anybody in the team,
sounds about right,
or broadcast or publishing, that this is the fight that determines the best German team in the LEC.
That's it.
Done, all right?
It's now established.
I have put the stakes on the line, and we'll see who's going to be crowned, #1 German representative. I actually have an executive producer who is German pinging me in the ear saying he disagrees with the strategy, which means it's the right call. And let's find out who is the best German organization in the LEC. Ladies and gentlemen, the players are loading up into the game. What was the predictions, actually? Because you mentioned Schalke online.
It's very divided.
It is very split, actually. You and I went Schalke. The fans went Schalke as well. And the likes of Frosker and Shocks, Medic, and Romar, they went for SK Gaming. So I'm happy for them to be wrong. And we're going to find out in the next 30 to 40 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the battle of the German beasts. Put your hands together, because unfortunately we do have a very brief pause. I can only apologize about that one as we do load up into the game. It shouldn't be too long with a little bit of luck. It is an SK-related pause that will give you indications as to why. But you know what we are seeing a lot today?
Tell me.
Vedius? We're seeing a lot of flex picks. And
True.
We're seeing a lot of flex picks worldwide, which is why I'm really happy that this guy came to talk to us about it. I'm not sure if you called the segment just before the analyst
I saw something about flex picks.
Yeah, Flexius really stepped up, you know, and showed us. I mean, do you agree with this analysis? He talked a lot about
what was this analysis? Flexicate me.
Champions in the game, you don't know where they're going to go. So if you can pick strong laners that have the ability to flex to other lanes, give yourself the opportunity to get an early game advantage, it allows the jungler to flex on his opponent, in this case, Self-Made or Memento, and that just lets them win the game.
That's true. It's very. I think it's solid. I think that's good. So, based on Flexius's words, let's evaluate where these strong laners exist, shall we? So, for Schalke, they have pushing top. Swain is really obnoxious for tanks to deal with, and so he's going to have the early advantage. He's going to push a little bit, especially with the Kleptomancy, going to be increasing that gold generation.
Right.
Abadage versus Pyrion will be in favor of Abadage early.
Until what level? Give me a prediction.
About 5 or 7, because then Pyrion gets a lot more wave clear with his Q. So that's when Abadage may struggle a little bit more. And the mana costs on Pyrion's Q are like so low that he can just wave clear for days.
Okay.
And in the bot lane, now this is the interesting one. I'm not entirely confident on this, but I largely base it on the supports. And Morgana, it's much easier to push a wave with her than it is with an Alistar. And Ezreal doesn't have the best wave clear, which means to me, Upset and Ignite do have push. So Schalke should have push in 2 out of 3 lanes early. 2 out of 3 lanes, yes. Okay. Which means that Memento has the freedom to create pressure and gain vision in the early game. Well,
Memento will be able to flex on SK, and he's got the Camille. He's going to have that combination. If you look in every single lane, there is very hard CC for Memento to combo with the damage dealers and try pick up some kills. So all eyes on him to be unlocked by his laners. Both of these teams 1-1. And one of the things we talked about, Vedius, is that both of these teams had one game last week where they looked pretty good, in fact. And then one game where they got pretty heavily stomped.
Yep.
So early on in the split, not going to read too much into it. We need to see more games, more matches, and then really get to understand where the power levels lie here in the LEC.
Yeah, I think it's quite funny that one went up against G2, the other went up against Misfits, and both results ended up in the same way, and now they end up playing against each other, both sitting at 1-1. It will give a great indication, as you rightly said, and what was fascinating to me is in many people's power rankings, people rated SK quite highly, obviously ganking mids.
We talked so much about it, pushing lanes, control early. Memento gets an early flash from Pyrion.
So that's really good, and kind of what we expected from Memento. We wanted to see him setting up ganks. He did use his flash, but he actually has the Hex flash available to him. Not something that I have regularly seen from Camille players, I'll be honest. Fascinated as to how he leverages that. Excuse me. We'll keep track of that as the game goes on, but again, I want to reinforce what he's doing with the pressure that he has. His bot lane is pushing, his top lane is pushing, and look at the river. Where are the wards? Oh, they're throughout the river. He has 2 wards on the top side, he's been able to secure both Scuttle Crabs, he's been able to successfully find a gank mid, and this is the power of flex picks and the power that pressure can create in the early game.
Yeah, of course, if you have those lanes, can push into the enemy. Now, of course, Self-Made is going to be making a play. Remember, he's got a rhythm. He likes to gank top for Werlip. Roar of the Slayer comes out. The fans here in Berlin are putting their hands up. Self-Made misses the assault quite epically, but he gets the flash from Oda Wamne.
I've never seen a crowd so ecstatic for a pause before.
Listen, we are in Berlin, Germany. We have a large number of German fans, and they are supporting my claim that this match determines the strongest. I mean, some of them are shaking their heads, but they are defending or looking to see which is the best or strongest German organization here in the LEC.
I see.
They're nodding. They're yes, thank you, Berlin. Thank you for cheering with me. We'll catch up on the pause in a second. But again, Selfmade, look, he's got a reliable system. He's played a lot with Whirlib. You know,
it does
they come
make
from the
me
same
laugh,
team.
because while I think it's fine for him to gank top side of the map this game, in the past, I've been like, so I think Selfmade will want to gank mid or gank bot, and he's like, no, I'm going top. This is where I go. That's my thing. You know, and level 3 or level 4, he's always there. And it does surprise me that Onomne didn't expect. He had a ward, but it literally just timed out. And to me, that says should have warded later. That's what he should have done. But
rookie mistake.
Rookie
mistake.
6-year rookie.
Unbelievable. Unforgivable. You heard Vedius say it.
Well,
no, he didn't.
Is that what
I pushed
said?
it. No, I pushed it. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a brief pause on the side of Schalke. Upset reported a freeze on his screen. The admins have made the call to play on, and we will continue with the game. So we're back into it, and it is a flashless top laner for W2D1, a flashless mid laner for Pyrion, but he's going to have the ability to use that Spell Thief if anybody jumps around onto him. And something that we haven't actually pointed out just yet, or at least I haven't.
Tell me.
Several teleports. You've got 3 on the side of Schalke.
Oh, yes.
Of course, Upset running it, as well as Crown Shot with that Klepto. So the mid game's going to be very interesting, as in when we see these teams using the TPs.
I'm not a fan of TP. I like Ignite, the Bernie stuff that really makes the laning interesting.
You like the killy kills?
I like the killy kills. That's a really great way to describe it. The thing about teleport that I really like the change is that now you have to commit to the teleport. But the main reason why you run teleport on things like 80 carries, especially these scaling ones, is because you just want to get back to lane as quickly as possible. You want to farm those items as quickly as possible. And it also means that you can go off into side lanes a little bit later on and still keep that gold generation going. So, and then in the solo laners, it's actually very common because they like to split push, they like to be on side lanes, so that doesn't surprise me. And fortunately for Pyrion, he's forced to run the cleanse because he's against Lissandra, and that sucks for him. So,
Lissandra, Camille, Morgana.
Yes.
A lot of tools to deal with. And in the draft, we were talking a little bit about how...
Wait, before you go on to that point,
yes,
just really random thought. You know Cleanse? You know the image is her like kind of standing like this? Yes. Or like a woman's and
I mean, I can see it. It's on the screen by Pyrion,
Every time I see it, I think of the song, I want to break free. And it's like a woman breaking free from crowd control.
Oh, man, that is fantastic. Well, let's see whether or not Whirlib can break free from Memento's grasp. Tactical sweep comes out. Precision Protocol has been thrown, gets the flash, so Memento is able to reply in kind. But with no cleanse, Whirlib is not able to break free.
No, he's not.
I would like you to back me up at some point. When Pyrion uses in a team fight, bust out the Freddie Mercury. Bust it out, right? Give me some backing music.
Let's calm down there, quick shot.
I'll see whether or not you're bold enough.
You're just so keen on listening to my singing voice.
I am indeed, especially after that setup, you know. It wasn't too bad. These are the teleports you talked about a little bit earlier. And of course, we saw a game from Memento, but before we went into that pause, Vedius, we were talking about Selfmade.
Yes.
I have some stats prepared for you in his 2 games yesterday. Selfmade in his wins versus his losses. When you take a look at the jungle proximity in his loss, obviously his team's falling back, so he's going to spend more time around them.
Right.
Look at the kills plus assists at 15 when he is helping his team get kills and helping his team get that gold lead. It just lends into that story that SK Gaming play well when even or ahead,
yes,
but not yet shown us they can play from behind.
And I think what this reinforces is that Selfmade is very efficient with his ganks. When he goes to gank somewhere, it usually results in something. Now, he's had 1 gank top, he only got a flash, but we're expecting him to go back there because he likes to gank for Whirlib. But on top of that, when they're in a, he is just the main catalyst for SK's early leads. Yeah. And this is why I think the jungle matchup's so fascinating, because Memento and Ignar are very similar for Schalke. And again, Memento looking for his 3rd gank of the game.
All right, he's going to hold on to that hook shot, decides not to chase forward. And Memento has had significantly more presence in this early game, but I think you expect that on a Camille versus the Sejuani. Selfmade's now got access to that Glacial Prison. He's just back to pick up the Barmy Cinder and is now moving down to contest this blue buff. But SK Gaming, they farmed themselves up a 700 gold lead.
Yeah.
Small CS advantages in the lanes, but mostly very good power farming here from Selfmade in the jungle.
Yeah, so for every gank that Memento's been trying to make, Selfmade has been either counter jungling or jungling, and he's just been passively picking up gold. But on top of that, Crown Shot with the Kleptomancy is allowing him to get a slight gold lead, and you can see Odoamne also doing a very similar thing. So just small gold leads are kind of building up for SK right now. It is resulting in a 600 gold advantage, but not too significant right now overall. Given that no one's really that far ahead. We're still keeping our eyes on when this first blood will come out, who will be the primary target, and where will Selfmade look to gank, because it is difficult for him. Like, SK's comp is much more about scaling. They want to wait for like the 2-3 items and leverage the long range that they have from a Zoe and an Ezreal, and then like chip away at a target around an objective and then perhaps force a fight. So they don't really need to make things happen this early on.
The thing is, that sounds so good. Ooh, hold that thought. Crown Shot gets caught by a binding. Upset's got a killer instinct. It's on cooldown. But Ignite, just the threat of the Ignite and the chase, means that Crown Shot uses the flash. I was waiting to see where Whirlip was running. And I'm going to go back to that second ago. And, you know, while there's 2 or 3 items that SK are looking to farm towards, I would be terrified of giving Swain, Camille, Lissandra, Kai'Sa that much time as well. So
Sure.
there's some pressure.
But that's the thing with two kind of scaling compositions. While Kai'Sa definitely has a stronger late game, the mid game is where things will get a little interesting, because Kai'Sa on 2 items versus Ezreal 2 items is, I mean, ever since the W changes, I feel like Ezreal's a lot stronger, especially in the mid and late game. But how these comps are executed is what you need to keep track of, because SK's comp is not a traditional teamfight comp, right? Zoe and Ezreal, you can't just play them front to back. They're not that great at killing tanks or like killing engage tools. What they're actually really good at is just chipping away at your health bars, because they have really long range and they have a good set of mobility. Whereas Schalke, they actually want to find those 5v5 wombo combos. You know, Lissandra, Morgana, Kai'Sa, Camille, Swain, that they have so much area of effect and so much burst damage. They want you to clump up and they want to force those like close quarter fights. So while both have decent scaling, both are really good at 2 to 3 items, the way in which you execute those comps is quite different. And so that's what will make this mid to late game quite interesting between the two teams.
I also really want to see how SK handles their vision game. The fact they've got that poke and they're coming up a team without a traditional tank means if SK have adequate, vision into Schalke's jungle or area of control, they can get the poke, they can make the decisions to siege and, play that game where they hold somebody's forehead who's shorter than them and try to say, why can't you hit me? Why can't you hit me? And try to hold them back.
That would be the ideal for
Really
SK.
wish I could have like an actual, media example of that.
Except I'm taller and larger.
I know, so
than
you'd be able to do it to me, but not the other way around.
So here we are, Schalke now looking for a play towards the bot side of the map. Does land on the Crown Shot, no flash.
No flash, Arcane Shift should be up in just a moment or two. He's used
mistake.
it already! Oh, take a look at this, locked inside the baby cage. Crown Shot, that is simply not acceptable. First blood picked up by Schalke, but Whirlip completes the teleport. Flash from Ignite, Glacial Fissure will not find a target. Ignites the enemy going down, takes so much damage. Now Memento is turned on. 3 members of SK Gaming are running him down. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of SK.
So while Crown Shot makes the initial mistake, Whirlip ends up compensating for it with a great TP. Odoamne couldn't join the fight, his summoner spell wasn't available, and now SK can convert this into a dragon very early on into the game.
Very nice turnaround from SK Gaming. Those teleports work out. Killer Instinct is on cooldown for Upset, so he can't risk jumping into 3 members. Don't think he would do that anyway. But while that's going on, Schalke's top laner, Odoamne, gets a ton of damage onto that outer turret. Has taken at least 2 or 3 plates, and Pyrian, nobody saw that, don't worry. He just messed up the blast cone to get over the wall, and he'll get you to defend at least that last turret plating and a half.
So, but still, great for Odoamne. He gets 3 plates off the back of that. Should be able to complete his Rod of Ages. And we'll upgrade to the Merc Treads. Now let's have a look at how this play kicked off. This was a mistake right here for Crown Shot. He used his E without the mobility skill and without flash. It's very easy for the rest of Schalke to collapse. They don't communicate that teleport advantage is in favor of SK, so this ends up being a 3v3, but SK still have all their ultimates up and available, so they can continue this chase. And Memento, he tried to save his support, but he should have just prioritized on getting out, because he ends up getting chased down, and Selfmade ends up picking up 2 kills.
Abadage had teleport available, but he was dealing with Pyrian in the mid lane, so he had no opportunity. Ignite uses that Hex Flash, I almost got excited for a moment, to try and threaten Crown Shot, who has eaten a couple of those bindings that maybe he should not have. And Crown Shot is now just behind the CS counter in that bottom lane. W2D1 continues to apply pressure with Aroa and Merc Treads completed. And with the tower very, very low, Werlip is going to be under a fair amount of threat to lose this first turret gold to Schalke 04.
Certainly could be the case. Self-Made is who I'm keeping my eyes on right now. Level 8, 200, completed jungle item. He's looking really good. I like this counter gang towards the bot side of the map. Level 9 now, and he's been really the big playmaker for SK. He's on the champion that he landed 2 great ultimates onto Reckless with. But he has now been spotted out, and you can see both teams looking to set up for this blue buff. They want to deny it away from Piri and Zoe.
What feels so great is that the game played out exactly as you were talking about, Bedius. You talked on the, power troughs that SK would have in the early stages, the first few levels. Schalke, they used that advantage. It unlocked Memento. But the moment Self-Made got his ulti, he then has found a couple of kills. He's understood where Schalke were going to play. And now SK Gaming, they're looking to set up around these next objectives. Werlip pushes to the top lane. You can see the vision toggles, defensive wards for SK. And a pretty cheeky blue buff steal here, thanks to those 3 control wards in the bottom quadrant of the map.
This was also a long setup process. They actually had Schalke had a good ward on the walls of SK, meaning they could spot out where Self-Made was. And knowing that Werlip had just back to base and Self-Made had actually moved out of the jungle, and they could steal that one away. And denying it from Piri and Zoe, really good pickup. So I like that a lot. And again, Schalke's vision will pick up what Self-Made is up to. Now, Memento's going to answer by trying to set up a dive on the bot lane.
And of course, going to get spotted out on the ward. The thing I like about Memento's decision making here is that it's Crown Shot in the mid game with 1 or 2 items on Israel that you're a little more afraid of. That combination plus Zoe. So I like the fact that because Odo is doing so well in the top lane and is self-sufficient, Memento's invested a lot of recent time to trying to keep Crown Shot a little bit down. And I think maybe that's why Crown Shot has teleported away. He's gone to apply pressure on the top lane. First tower will be secured, but it is after the platings have gone down.
So Self-Made made a move towards the Rift Herald. He actually thought that he was safe, but Schalke, rather than go for that play, decided to invest towards the bot side of the map. Dreams had already started roaming to try and assist Self-Made in setting up the objective, and what Crown Shot recognized was there's nothing for me to gain from going bot, so actually TP top and try and get the tower first away from Schalke. Unfortunately for SK, they couldn't do it. They end up trading 1 for 1. And now what we'll see is a lot more movement around the map. I'd like to see Upset and Agnar actually make their way towards the top side to start threatening this tower. But you run the risk of Self-Made just coming mid, throwing down the Rift Herald, and then Schalke is kind of in 2 play. Fortunately, Upset does have TP though. So.
Well, let's see what the teams decide to do. It's 15 minutes in the game. SK have got 800 gold deficit, but because of how heavily they were smashed in that one game from last week, their average gold numbers for Schalke at 15 is -2,500. For SK, it's -4,000. And again, that's just because of how heavy-handed one of each team's defeats affected their aggregates. So it's interesting seeing how both teams go into the mid game. It's interesting seeing an even footing, but 2 very different styles of play. So decision-making, vision, champion execution on your spells. That's what's going to determine who's going to work towards these next big objectives, especially with Mountain Drake in 20 seconds.
It's close though. That's what I quite like about it. It's not quite high action just yet, but it has the potential to be. Here we go, Self-Made. Getting a bit of chip damage down onto Memento. But I like how close this is. Now, this is where you see like the real power of SK's comp. Just look at how long-ranged their damage is and how difficult it is for Schalke to really approach. Because every time they try to get close, there's the risk of getting collapsed on by Dreams and Self-Made. And if you don't get close, your health gets chipped away by Piri and Crown Shots. So that kind of setup is ideal for SK.
And of course, with the mid tower going down just before the Mountain Drake spawns, SK Gaming can try to push forward, but no, Werlip! He is overextended, gets caught inside the Hextech ultimatum. He's unable to drive through that wall. And Schalke 04 even up the kill score. It's 2-2, and kill credit secured by Abadage. Now, Sion in the zombie mode dealt a ton of damage, so any follow-up is thwarted, so to speak. But this will also allow Schalke to get a tower in the top lane. So this will even the kills, it will even the towers. It maintains a 1,500 gold lead for Schalke. And it's just the differences in these 2 teams. When grouped as 5, Schalke want nothing to do with SK, but the moment they can get a skirmish, their team comp shines.
Yeah, just a small mistake there from Werlip. He overextended in the mid. He should have waited for the wave to hit the tower. Didn't expect 4 members to come out from the brush. which is surprising because you can see there's actually a ward sitting on the Raptors. But because Schalke had committed to getting top tower, top vision, and the kill, it means that SK were able to move down and secure themselves a Drake. So again, not the end of the world, still very, very close game between the two teams. And so far, things kind of going the way both teams want, really. Not too...
It's so weird, isn't it? Like, both teams are happy and comfortable.
Yeah.
What's your take on SK? Because, you know, we talked a little before the game, and SK's early game, when they get a lead, they look pretty good. And you have some question marks around what they can do in the later stages. Ignar's got the Black Shield on, but is immune for the time being. Whirlip's going to chase forward. Glacial Prison comes up. That's flash for flash. Perion trying to find the Paddle Star. And how much was the cost? One ultimate and flash in exchange for Ignar's flash. We're going to go back to the question. You know, what's your take on SK? They've responded to Memento's early game. They've got some good towers. They've used this poke siege style comp effectively so far.
I think this is the ideal situation for SK to find themselves in. The game has been very slow, calm, patient. They've allowed Selfmade to farm up, and he's been influential in the early game as well. I believe that their early game is good, but in the mid game is where things can fall apart if they lose control for a second. And that's going to be one of the important things that I keep my eye on. How can Schalke force SK into disarray, if they are even possible? Because I just think that the difference in experience means that the moment SK kind of fall behind, they almost like scrap to come back. And scrapping against this kind of a comp and making rash decisions is not how you want to do it.
All right, that's a flash over the wall from Avadage. Killer Instinct comes in. Crown Shot is now being focused. Hextech Ultimatum not even used. Memento uses the stopwatch to buy a couple seconds of time, and he will buy a few more seconds before he's killed by Dream. Schalke, they thought they had an insta-kill opportunity, but Crown Shot's mobility keeps him alive long enough to thwart any further advantages.
So the biggest issue there for Schalke was the follow-up wasn't quite right. Abadage couldn't get over the wall, so he flashes over the wall instead. Crown Shot was able to get out of the ultimate, flash away, and then use his E to get even further away as well, which means that Memento had to dive underneath the tower. You then saw Dreams with a fantastic interrupt to prevent that from happening, and ultimately, it just came down to an execution error. You can see that Ignar flashes over the wall, then walks backwards, then walks forwards, which means that he never gets the Q off. Really good flash from Dreams to interrupt Memento as well. And while Schalke get a kill, they're forced to leave Memento to the walls, meaning that it ends up just being another 1-for-1. No objective is gained for either side. And SK, they just continue to keep the game neutral. That wasn't quite the chaos that was enough to shake them.
Not the chaos to shake them. The team in the situation showing they can handle it.
All right, you're better at English. You made your point.
Not quite that way. But it's a very, very even game. 2 item spikes picked up. Gold is next to inconsequential at this point. And with the exception of SK Gaming having 2 additional dragons, this game is still completely up in the air. I need to see who's going to make this positive play. One thing that we've not seen a lot from Schalke is Odoamne's involvement in the team.
That's true.
He's pretty content to be playing on an island.
Yep.
He's pretty content. 0-0-0 plus 20-ish CS over Whirlip. Just
he's running with some mad bank right now, though.
how much bank is Mads?
He's sitting at about 8.4k gold. And that's largely just thanks to the Kleptomancy, which means that he's now at 2 completed items. He actually has, without getting a single kill, 1,400 gold advantage over his lane opponent. Just showcasing the power of Kleptomancy, which means that this Swain is at a power spike area. Oh, that's a good ult.
And of course, Upset does not have cleanse, does not need it. There's no follow-up damage. Killer Instinct shield was enough to keep him alive. He's got the Storm Razor and Rage Blade for now, but SK, I don't know if they believed that was going to hit because nobody flinched after the prison landed.
Maybe they wanted to get the flash out from Upset, but he just stays there. He's like, I'll get a Black Shield. He doesn't get the Black Shield. And he's like, well, I still have my ultimate. I'm fine. And he is fine. But Selfmade, showcasing once again that he is very good at landing these Sejuani ultimates. The bigger issue for Schalke is that Abadage used his teleport. Fortunately, they have 2 more. So they don't have to stress too much about it, but Abadage is one of those champions that would like to be sitting on a side lane, and now it's much harder for him to do so.
Correction, they have 1 more, as now Upset is teleported into the mid lane. Taking a look at SK Gaming, Crown Shot has his TP available to use, but is not necessarily the most threatening of TP engages. This will just allow Crown Shot to push out a side wave, which By the way, if you look at the minimap, Schalke and Ulfia have got very good vision behind the Baron pit, but they are currently being pushed out of the mid lane. SK are defending this mid-outer turret exceptionally well, while W2D1 continues to live on an island, and he's just defending the bottom tower. Somebody give him a volleyball. We can call it Wilson,
Here we
and
go.
we'll see how long it'll take to rescue him, bring him back to civilization.
W2D1 on the flank, sitting in darkness. He's coming in from behind. They don't see him. Now the Birdman has arrived.
All right, Abadage uses the Hex Flash, throws down the ulti onto Crown Shot, but Crown Shot's Arcane Shift takes him over the wall. It's a split fight.
Whoa!
Massive damage onto Dreams. He's not going to be able to find the damage yet. No, it's Ignite that is dead, in fact. Everybody's retreating from SK. This is a fight on multiple fronts. Schalke and Ulfia, they got the first kill. They got the dragon. They completely got me lost. And now Memento jumps into period. He throws down the Hextech Ultimatum, but there's no follow-up damage. Upset flashes over the wall. Killer Instinct back into Selfmade. Now Selfmade flashes back to his safety, and Schalke and Ulfia, a confident engage, and they pull it off.
And it ends up being a 2v2 between the two teams. Infernal goes in favor of Schalke. That was a pretty crazy fight, but I gotta criticize the coordination coming out from Schalke, because W2D1 was in the perfect spot. There was nothing else that needed to be done other than follow up from him. But look, the engage comes onto the 3 members on the top side. They wanted to either step. W2D1's role in this fight is to either just keep the tanks out of it, but because the rest of Schalke can't chase onto Crown Shot and period, the better option would have just been to focus the tanks, the ones that were trapped in the pit, and use someone like Abadage to zone the backline away. But the coordination just didn't seem there. It was a split fight. No one could really kill anyone. And now we've got Memento diving onto the backline, hoping he can find a kill. And if it wasn't for Upset just flashing in onto Crown Shot, this could have been a one fight for SK.
Yeah, absolutely could have been the case. And you know, there was so much chaos that I even got lost in the fight. Wasn't quite sure where to be following. Got to give some credit to Abadage, because even though his parkour skills to get over walls are weak at the moment, multiple times he's maybe not found the 100% perfect angle, he still fully commits to the engage. And that is one thing that I do like to see, that even in the face of a little bit of a fail, still uses the Hex Flash, still chases in, and Schalke still commit. It's messy, it's chaotic, but they're definitely working together on the same page.
What this reinforces is what SK want to avoid doing. Grouping up around an objective to allow Schalke to find these flanks and these 5v5 team fights. Now, SK were fortunate in that they were able to disengage through their half of the jungle, but they might not be so lucky next time. The coordination should, in theory, be stronger for Schalke, which means that SK, when setting up for around an objective, want to just make sure they control the vision. Every time Schalke try to get close, that's when the poke is coming out. Before they even get to the objective, they want to be hitting and landing all these skill shots and just slowly chunking Schalke out. So the moment they actually reach the objective, they're crippling on one leg, and they're like, I can't move, my leg is bleeding, someone patch me up, and then Purian just blows you away with his star beam thing. And so that was a very vivid description of a team fight.
It was. It's nothing but a flesh wound, is what Schalke would respond. But I mean, we're 25 minutes into the game. Upset takes a gigantic damage chunk out from that paddle stop. But look at the itemization. As we mentioned, 1,000 gold separates these team. Hurricane for Upset, picked up. Luden's Echo, Void Staff sitting for Purian. The Iceborne Gauntlet and the Murin Man has been in Crown Shot's inventory for a while, but this is where SK are going to play the objective, and they need to land the poke.
Look at the HP. Upset already down to about half health. Ignite, 8 and E as well. This is the best case scenario for SK. They forced Schalke back. They landed good poke. Now can Schalke get into the pit?
All right, there's the turn. The peel, the Glacial Prison doesn't find a target. Abadage is in a little bit of trouble.
Disengage.
Sleepy Trouble Bubble causes no trouble for Schalke, no fear. Killer Instinct is available for Upset, but he's holding on to the trigger. Abadage, he gets over the wall flawlessly this time. Memento and Abadage, they take down Period at the cost of Memento's life. Now Upset, after using the ultimate, is trying to kill SK Gaming. 2 for 1 just outside the Baron pit, and Schalke, considering a further chase, will not find anything more today.
Fantastic stuff from the Schalke rookie in the mid lane. He finds Purian on the back line. He bursts him almost immediately, and it ends up being a big team fight win for Schalke. And this could have been a big fight for SK. The setup was great. Note how they managed to land good poke onto Upset, but it's this engage that they can't pull off. You see a lot of Schalke members flashing away, disengaging, avoiding the CC, so SK can't get the fight they want, so the re-engage comes in from Schalke, and beautiful setup. Abadage buys plenty of time. Memento gets interrupted and locked down. I think he should have tried to retreat here rather than commit, but still, it ends up being a 2 for 1 in favor of Schalke. But again, no objectives have swung in either team's favor.
100% kill participation for the only returning member of Schalke 04 from the summer split final squad. 3-0-4. He's got 1,000 gold bounty on his head. And it looks like Schalke 04 are going to find themselves another kill. Dreams will get shut down, run down where he stands. A tomb is placed under Crown Shot, but there's not enough damage to send him to the mausoleum. Now there's a kill on the board for Abadage, but it's not going to find. Flashes away from that Mystic shot. Abadage escapes with a life. Remember, he started that play, and this mid-game has been dominated by Abadage and Upset finding repeated kills to come back from a kill deficit against SK Gaming.
So the obnoxious thing about this SK comp, you'll note from Schalke, is every time they find a successful fight or a pick, the poke still comes out from SK, which means that Schalke are never healthy enough to convert it into an objective. So even though over the last 2-3 fights, it is Schalke who've actually come out on top, this is the first objective that they've actually really been able to properly convert it into. So you're seeing how obnoxious this long-range poke comp can be from SK, and how hard it is for Schalke to properly find those engages to lock down these carries for SK.
Now, do you get concerned for SK Gaming? We're 28 minutes in. We saw them setting up around Baron. In theory, they had, you know, all the cards to play. But the turn and burn didn't find the right target. It wasn't necessarily... Is it execution, or was it just decision-making that allowed Schalke to win that previous Baron engage?
I think it was execution, but from both sides. I think Schalke recognized SK wanted to go for the re-engage and that they wouldn't commit to the Baron. So the three members that were getting close to the pit were just very aware, and so once they read the play, they were able to then play around it. And as a result, SK, they just overcommitted a little bit, and then a bit. Now look at Selfmade, here we go.
All right, what is Selfmade going to do? He's got the ultimate available, and I looked at him, I was waiting.
Yeah, I was expecting it, but Ignar was standing there, ready. He was like, okay, I've got the spell shield ready. I will give it to you when you need it. And he didn't need it, so...
No, he did not. Hypercharge used by Upset just to sidestep and engage. Glacial Prison comes down. Self-cast on the Hextech Ultimatum. Upset's trying to put the hurt down as Memento is able to escape with his life. True Shot Barrage is on cooldown, so cannot find a target. Whirlip and another member gets locked down. Whirlip is going to be caught out. He's shut down, goes into zombie mode. Upset, killer instincts to the back line. Now Pyrian and Crown Shot, they've got no tanks to defend them. Nothing standing in their way. And SK Gaming lose 3.
And now Schalke keep all 5 members alive. The 2 poke champions from SK are still up and available, and they can be obnoxious around this Baron, but with only 2 members and no engage, I don't know if it's enough to stop the Baron.
Dark Binding connects onto Crown Shot. It's so important to note the mobility on Schalke's side makes it so difficult for the skill shots to land on the poke champions of SK. Baron is going low. Steal possibility on the card. Smite fight is not going to be enough. Onuwamne, in fact, secures the kill. And look at the damage there onto Pyrian. Void missiles. Oh, there's at least a shutdown onto Onuwamne.
That's a big shutdown as well. It means that Onuwamne can't threaten as much on a side lane. He was really integral in these fights. I really liked his Swain play so far, but when we bring the replay up, note how hard SK commit to this fight. They find a pick onto Memento and they think if we kill the jungler, the Baron is ours, but they just don't quite have enough damage. Then the flank comes in from Onuwamne, and now look at SK. They're clumped into this tiny choke point for all this crowd control to land, which means that Schalke, they just have a field day, chasing down the members of SK, ripping through the front line, and ending up converting it into a big Baron.
It just feels like the momentum of this game is swinging more and more in Schalke's favor. They've got themselves a 6,500 gold lead, 11 kills to 7. They've got themselves Baron on several members, and it's just, as this comp continues to scale, they have all the damage and all the tools to kill SK.
But you can also see how one of my concerns was how SK would perform in the mid game. When they start to lose control, how do they perform? And you can see in that situation how hard they overcommitted, and they didn't even look at their surroundings. They just saw the pick, they saw the fight, and they tunneled onto it. And it wasn't until they realized, oh no, even if we got this kill, there's still 4 members of Schalke in an enclosed space, which is the ideal situation for them. And this is one of those things where I think the experience factor ties in for SK, where even though they're very good players, they recognize their win condition. Sometimes they put blinkers on and they fail to see the whole situation that they end up putting themselves in.
I mean, when Schalke picked that fight, or the fight was picked by them, in the jungle, Leonidas would have been proud with how well they defended their territory and the nice choke points. Memento this time around bought enough time despite being caught out.
Yes.
Black Shield was thrown on him, the Hextech Ultimatum was thrown down, And look at Upset. He's now got that Mercurial Scimitar. No cleanse needed this time to try and put damage down onto this tower. I mean, it's a 32-minute Kai'Sa that has nearly 360 CS, 4 fully completed items. And look, Schalke don't even need to group up for this with Baron. And the damage they have, they're just knocking over towers like dominoes.
And SK, they won't engage. They won't, because they know that if they try to, they're going to lose the fight. And this is why we talked about both comps, they're kind of waiting for the late game. It's all about the execution. And unfortunately for SK, Schalke's execution has been better in a lot of these fights. So now Schalke are knocking on the door of SK's base. They're looking to break in, try and take down an inhibitor. And SK, they're running out of options.
Yeah, they really are. Inhibitor turret in the mid lane's about to fall. Memento's being chased down. Unstoppable Onslaught does get dodged away from by a pretty cheeky play from Memento. Hook shot goes forward. True shot barrage does tag Memento, but there's not enough. That's a 2-on-1 kill thus far. With Whirlip going down, now Zombie Mode will try to get some damage. Upset is chunked a little bit low from some of the poke, but there's no turret in the mid lane. Turret in the top lane is about to fall, and Schalke and Nulfia are going to go back, spend some of that gold, pick up the Infernal Drake, and they are just moments away from claiming the temporary title of best German team in the LEC.
Now, moving very swiftly away from your proclaimed title.
I'm going to have so many angry emails from my publishing team.
I can just see you just running up to
producer.
the team, just handshaking them. Congratulations. Well done, sir. Good job. But what I do want to give credit to for Schalke is the 2 carries, Upset and Abadage. Look at their scorelines, 4-0-7. They've been involved in 11 of the 12 kills. And while Upset has been a staple, he's been regarded last summer especially as the best AD carry of the splits. You now pair him up with a rookie, a brand new team, a brand new environment, up against a hyped SK that many people saw take down Fnatic and people's expectations very high. I feel like both these carries have really come up clutch and have showcased some of their potential. And when many teams talked in the preseason about where Schalke would slot in this power ranking, you can see them now being one of those teams fighting for one of those playoff spots, looking to challenge one of these top teams. And for a rookie to be able to experience that so early on, again, just shows how much talent we have here in Europe.
I mean, it makes me very happy because the Schalke organization had to completely rebuild.
Yep.
You know, they lost support staff, they lost players with the exception of Upset. This is an entire rebirth once again. But like a phoenix rising from the ashes, Schalke have stepped up. They've shown some very, very good moments and decision making. And they are definitely one of the dark horses when you look at the future and you look towards playoffs. It's week 2. It's the 3rd game of the split, right? So I mean,
you forget that, right? Because you feel like you've been watching these teams for so long now.
I mean, some of these players I have. But I will dial back some of the broader statements. But, you know, it is one of the things that you do have to think about. You do have to project forward and see where these teams will grow and develop.
But I also just, to kind of tie on to that, I don't think it's too unreasonable to kind of think of teams as, do you think they're going to qualify for playoffs or not?
Yeah.
Because you can make those theories and that can change. You're allowed to have a different opinion based on the information that you've seen. And
no, Vedius, I heard you on week 1, day 1 make a statement. That is the only one that counts.
That's true. That's it. Yeah, we're not allowed, if we say anything, that's it for life. You're not allowed to suddenly have a different opinion.
Yeah, who knew learning new information could allow you to revise your statements? But look, Schalke have got everything they need. I think probably wait for the next Baron, pick that up, and finish this game cleanly, get a 2-1 score line at the end of the day. And unless SK overcommits, that was the righteous glory I heard.
They're looking for a pick, but look at the flank from Abadage. He's got his eyes set on Pyrion.
All right, Abadage not going to jump over wall this time around. Doesn't need to. Will find Crown Shot. There's the cleanse thrown down. No backup singing from Vedius today. Odoamne forced to use the stopwatch. Stays alive for a few seconds longer. Schalke Nulfia, is this going to be a problem for them? Odo's got the Demonic Ascension and will need it to reclaim the HP. Selfmade looking for Ignite, but the Black Shield is on. Memento's using a Precision Protocol to take down the Inhibitor. Selfmade finds no target. Inhibitor's taken down in the middle lane, and despite Schalke messing up that team fight, they get the objective and they get away by the hair on their chinny chin chins.
You can see once again this SK composition. Teleport actually coming in. You can't cancel that, Odo.
Okay, Odo's now being zoned a little bit by Pyrion as well as Dreams. He throws down the lightning and not going to find a kill just yet. Pyrion escapes with his life, using that flash and that cleanse. Memento continues to focus down the objectives. Schalke are just playing a distraction game. Guerrilla tactics in the mid lane to distract SK, while Memento is going for the objectives the buildings to maintain control.
Sorry, quick shot. I think we're casting Schalke versus SK. Gorilla comes next game. But now Schalke move towards the Baron. They have full control over it. The control ward is in there. Oh no, this fight's gone. They still secure it though. Oh, Memento.
Memento, you've had such a good game. You had such an impressive laning phase. Really good pressure on the inhibitor. And that is a facepalm moment if ever I have seen one. They got the objective though, so we'll forgive him.
He did. No, you won't.
Oh, won't we? Okay.
You will go into the Reddit thread post-game and you will go, unbelievable, Memento died to the Baron, holding his team back. Disgraceful.
Holding his team back. Wow, that escalated real quick.
Remember?
Oh, the observers? That is as cold as ice. Showing us the self-kill.
Clip it out, tweet it at him, make him remember.
Yep,
That's the League of Legends way.
It is a memento to remember
I knew you'd do it. I knew you. Why'd you have to ruin this?
I ruined it?
Yes, you did.
Well, listen, Baron's left on 4 members. Blue buff is going to be stolen away by Upset. Manager, well, secured. I'll say secured. No, stolen's not fair. He's only got 6 items. Infinity Edge, Storm Razor, Phantom Dancer, Hurricane, Mercurial Scimitar, Boots be damned. I need damage for days. I don't want to fight that champion, please. That is what SK are going to be saying.
All right, here we go. Abadagi looking for an engage. Doesn't quite commit, but you have 3 pushing waves in favor of Schalke. Oh, Dreams.
Oh, take a look at that. The passive from Swain just pulls Dreams backwards. It's caught out by the Dark Binding and is just easily run down. Schalke Null Fear score an easy kill against SK Gaming. And now with Baron empowered super minions, they're going to push through this middle lane. They do have an exposed inhibitor top. They have a tower in the bottom lane that's going very, very low. And Visions of the Empire managed to tag Crown Shot. He's got an Arcane Shift to safety. This is just a matter of time. Schalke Null Fear have played this safe. Whoa! That hurts! That really, really hurt. Pyrian almost 1 Deeks. Memento, just 1 rotation, but take a look at this. Supers as well as multiple lanes down. Schalke, they've got Baron, they've got themselves a minute and a half to finish the game.
Yeah, they do. But remember, there's also just super minions pushing in 2 waves. The Elder's also alive. Schalke can just very quickly turn their attention to that if SK come and fight them. If they lose, that's going to be the game. If they don't fight for Elder, they're probably going to lose. And it's one of those situations where SK really have to find some kind of miracle fight at this point. The pick has been landed onto Werlib.
And he's running for his life, flashes away, uses the ultimate as well. Odo Amne's thrown down the ascension of a demonic form.
Go get the Elder,
cannot
Memento.
find a target to chunk out. Elder's been started as double Infernal and Cloud. SK Gaming fancy themselves a shot. Elder's already been secured. Elder plus Baron. Ignor's chasing all the way forward. That's Camille. Manages to get taken over the wall. Pyrian delivers Memento. It's a quadra kill for Upset. And of course the solo kill for Memento. He manages to take down SK Gaming. They are aced. Their base is exposed. Upset teleports onto the Nexus. And Schalke Null Fear will be taking down SK. The Nexus turrets are dropping. And in a controlled execution, Schalke defeat SK.
Fun game, a little slower than game 3, but I quite enjoyed it. The back and forth, both compositions, both wanted to scale, and it all came down to execution. And while we did see some good things from SK, I do think that at the end, they just couldn't quite pull off what they wanted to do. And Schalke, they leveraged the experience, they were able to buy time, they were able to find much more of the team fights that they wanted, and they ended up pulling them off much better to result in a win. So good stuff there from Schalke, and I do believe they've claimed your strange title that has been appointed by you.
It is indeed. Schland as Schalke take down SK Gaming. It makes me excited to see how this team will progress, how Schalke are going to match up against the likes of Misfits, the likes of G2, as we continue to see the split play through. Handshakes all around. And for SK, we still see the same good points. You know, we see Selfmade having an impact. We
Early
see
game is still really good.
Him and Werlib are a good combination, but I think if SK can focus on some of their mid game, if they can focus on how to generate leads outside of just Selfmade, that's where we're going to see them shine and really become competitive towards the playoff race.
So for me, what I've identified from SK is, I think that over the next few weeks, they just need to better understand how to execute in the mid and late game the win conditions that they've drafted for themselves.
Yeah.
and not rely on self-made getting you an advantage and then maybe finding a good punish here and there. Like, you can't just rely on plays to get you wins in the LEC. You need to find the essence of consistency, but I do believe they can find it. I think that we're seeing consistent growth from this SK squad, and I'm excited to see what they're capable of over the next few weeks. And, you know, they still were able to take down Fnatic last week. I still think that was a big win to pick up. They're still not sitting at 0-3, they're 1-2, and tomorrow I'm very confident that we'll see a lot more from this SK team.
I agree entirely, and I am excited to see what SK can continue to do throughout the course of the split. Now, my production team has informed me we have a replay to look at, and we are going to take a look at the single best highlight of the entire game. Oh, I knew this was going to be the case. Oh, man.
Now, Memento, he gets a little too close to the Baron. He draws its aggro, and he takes 2 hits to death.
Do you know what? If he had better mechanics and he could have dodged that auto attack from Baron, that is how Memento could have survived. But it's just, it's Memento, you know, giving up the life. I can see him right now. Eye contact is being made.
Disgraceful.
And as we said, Memento, the single most impressive play of the game. Congratulations on the win.
Toss, quick toss, he's coming over here.
Every game, we see Europe's best battle it out on the Rift. You guys at home can select who you thought your favorite was in the Kia Player of the Game vote. This time, it stands between Odoamne, Abadage, and Upset. Memento is removed from the list because of his performance in Baron Pits.
Now, that's a close one. I feel like Upset's going to win it just because he got a quadra kill in the end. But in terms of impact, Odoamne was huge for me. And what he was doing on the side lane and team fights.
It's invisible power by the threat that he provides, right?
But I mean, his power in fights was also...
The thing is, for me, I actually would vote for Abadage. Despite some of those missteps, he really did commit and he really did find crucial targets. Despite some messy fights, he
3 good votes for you guys to make. Just think about it. Just think about it.
Absolutely the case. We are ready with an interview as Dracos is standing by with Schalke 04's franchise Eddie Carey.
Thank you very much, Quickshot. But did Abadage get a quadra kill to end the game? I think not, but this man did. Hello, Upset.
Hello.
You're coming off of obviously a very impressive performance for a new team. How did it feel overall, that game?
It definitely felt a little bit stressful, but I think actually we are playing quite good as a team already and everyone understands what they do. So even if we slip up a bit, I feel like we have a good structure in the game and we know what to do. So it felt, I mean, it was just a bit stressful because it went so late, but it was a good game, felt good.
Rounded out in the end, some incredible team fights from the squad, but I'm glad you brought it up. One thing that stands out to Schalke for a team that has almost completely rebuilt is how well coordinated you guys are in the early weeks. What do you think is the biggest factor for you guys to click so soon in the split?
I think it's just pretty much the way we practice is very coordinated around habits we try to implement in our gameplay, and we just like focus very hard on how we communicate with each other and what we want to do in every game, and then we repeat it. So when we go on stage, it feels like similar what we want to do, and the habits we have implemented are like just in the game, and we don't have to think too much about it. So we are like quite coordinated about it already.
Yeah, it's good to hear that that process is already working for you guys. Now, when it comes to, you know, tier lists and rankings, people have Schalke in a lot of different places. I'm curious, where do you see Schalke 04 right now, and where do you expect to be at the end of the split?
I mean, it's really hard to say because it's so early in the split, but in scrims we seem quite strong compared to the other teams, and I think we should definitely be a top 5 team, but I think we have quite good potential.
All right, but if you're making it to playoffs, are you confident that you can take it in the best of 5?
Yeah, I think we can take it in the best of 5, yes.
Good to hear the confidence coming out. Congrats on taking down fellow German Org SK today.
Thank you.
Good luck in your games tomorrow. That's it from us. Now back to the desk. Or a break.